Check. We on?
Yeah, Kevin, we're live.
Oh, we on right now?
Yeah.
Oh, welcome everyone to the FloTrack podcast. What happened was I X'd out the wrong window before we started, and then I rejoined the call, and now we're live. You guys didn't even know I disconnected, Gordon.
I will take no responsibility for that. That is fully on Kevin. I
And now
counted
I'm
you
back.
down fully. I don't know what you're talking about, man.
No, I exited out is what happened. I clicked the wrong window. I meant to close one of these results tabs, and I closed ours. Anyway, we're here.
Sounds good.
Happy Monday, everyone. Email the show, comment on our YouTube page, subscribe if you can. We're going to talk some results for the weekend. We got Milrose coming up this weekend, and that's going to be the big weekend. This was kind of like the setup weekend, the in-between weekend of results, but still a lot of fun stuff to discuss. Gordon, good morning. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Yeah, a lot of great stuff went down. Did you watch football last night?
I heard of it. Yeah.
You heard of it?
Yeah.
You heard of football? I know we're a track podcast and we're supposed to follow track results, but the 4 NFL games over the weekend were like watching an anchor 4x4 kick it for the win 4 different times. It was incredible. Especially and then the Chiefs Bills game was like watching a Penn Relays 4x mile when like they're in and out because it was wild. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. I guess I was supposed to be watching track, but NFL, they do their thing and they distract you.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill just 2 wins away now from another Super Bowl. And you remember his conversion rate, one Super Bowl is 30 gold medals. So if he wins another one, 60. Someone would have to win 60 gold medals in order to catch Tyreek Hill. It was funny. I was watching.
How many medals would you need to catch Tom Brady then?
He's
won
7?
5? 7? He's won 7?
Like 200. You need about 200. So speaking of track and football, I was trying to prep for the show last night, and there was just under 2 minutes left in the Chiefs-Bills game, and it was 4th and 13, and I'm thinking, all right, this could theoretically be over in a couple minutes. They stop them on 4th down, they could run the clock out. And my wife texts me from the other room because she's putting our 10-month-old down and says, hey, can you move my laundry through? And I'm like, sure, because I'm thinking it's going to be over soon, and we'll be good. After she sends that text, the Bills score, the Chiefs score, the Bills score again, the Chiefs score with 13 seconds left, it goes to overtime, and then the Chiefs win, and then she comes out, and she's like, what happened? I said, most unbelievable thing. You'll never believe it. And then I see that she's going to the laundry room to change. I never changed the laundry is what I'm saying, and it felt like it was a year ago from when she asked me to text. Like I got so engrossed in the game because, as you said, it was the most exciting 4x4 combined with the most exciting Olympic final you could ever imagine, back and forth and back and forth. And now my wife won't talk to me. That's how that story ends.
Hey, just do what you can.
Just kidding.
Did you get the laundry change at least? You got the laundry change?
No, she
eventually?
did it. She did it. That's what I'm saying. I didn't even think about it until I saw her go change the laundry. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you asked me to do that. But that was 5 scores ago. It was impossible. And then my son, my other son, 6-year-old, big Mahomes guy, but he's also a big sleeping guy. So he went to bed at halftime. The deal was, hey, you watch highlights in the morning if you go to sleep now. He's like, cool, I'll do it. I feel something on my body when I'm in bed. It's my son. He's like jumping on me. And he goes, Dada, the Chiefs won. And I'm like, shh, because I didn't want to wake up his brother and sister. And then he walks out of the room. And then my wife wakes up and she goes, did you know it's 4 a.m? My son woke up at 4 a.m, turned on the TV, found the YouTube highlights, and was watching. I thought it was 6:30 or something. It was 4 a.m. He woke up. So we put him back to bed, and he was late to school. So the Sully household in disarray. But I did once all that was done, I had time to prep for the show. So we got a lot of college, a lot of high school stuff to talk about. Let's start first, Gordon. Give me your thoughts on Nico Young, runs 4:02 at altitude, beats Luis Grijalva, converts to about a 3:54. What do you think of his race?
Yeah, first of all, it's interesting that Nico was a victor. It was billed as a Luis Grijalva sub-4 attempt, but Nico comes up with the win. And I'm kind of surprised. I look at Nico as not really a speed guy. I guess mainly because the way he looks when he runs, he doesn't really have that like.
Looks
He
tired.
has like that Connor. Yeah, he looks tired. He has like that Connor Mance type feel where you're like, is this guy gonna be able to hold on? And then he does. And the fact that Nico's able to do something like this really opens your eyes to think that he is developing the right way to be a great 5,000 meter runner eventually. Because if you want to be a good 5,000 meter runner in the US, in the world, you need to be a great miler because it's not an endurance event. It is
Mhm.
basically a tactical sprint event these days with just 2 miles of warm up. So I was surprised, and I think it definitely shows that Nico has taken another step. And he took the first step last year of like, all right, running a strong time in the 1320s. And
Yeah.
now this is the next bigger step to show like, all right, you got to develop that speed. And looks like he's done it. I mean, we'll see if that translates to a sea level type speed because it is an altitude conversion. Because
Yep.
it was 402, which converts to 354. So we'll see what he would have done on a non-elevated track. But hey, I think when you juxtapose this race with the race that Wesley Kiptoo ran in his home meet, he ran like a 401 mile. Wesley
Mhm.
Kiptoo got like third or fourth in his race. And so when you think about flash forward to a 5,000 NCAA final, you have Kiptoo, who's coming off a 401 mile speed,
Yeah.
and Nico Young coming off a 354 mile speed. You may slowly start thinking Nico might have an advantage in a tactical 5K or just like a strong 5K race. Grass, cross country, that throws everything out the window. So I'm still putting my eggs in the baskets of a Kiptoo and a few
Mhm.
others up top. But if Nico Young is able to continue this, Nico Young is going to go from, hey, you can finish third to sixth to all of a sudden, no, you're going to win.
Mhm. We don't have Cole Hawker and Cooper Tier in the NCAA anymore with that fast mile speed. So this is a path for Nico Young. Because it's an altitude conversion, are you more impressed with the time that he ran or the fact that he beat Grijalva? What's more notable to you?
I think the fact that he beat Grijalva. Grijalva is an Olympic finalist. Didn't he make the Olympic final?
Yes.
Did he? Yeah. He straight up beat an Olympic finalist in the 5K. Grijalva was, you know, less than like inches or seconds away from beating Cooper Tier in the NCAA outdoor final. Cooper Tier, a guy who gets fourth at the Olympic trials. Like, he's putting himself into categories with men who are legit up and coming talents. And if like he's doing that, you got to think this might be his year where he is the one running the 13-15s. He's the one in it with 800 to go in the U.S.
Yeah.
championships and potentially going up against the Bowerman guys. And now Cooper Tier might have someone in lane one with him when it comes down to that final home stretch of that 5K. Because
Mhm.
remember in Olympic trials, Cooper Tier was all by himself, while the Bowerman boys and Chalimo were out in lane 12. Hey, now maybe Cooper Tier will find some company with Nico Young in
Yeah.
2022.
For the 5K, there's the different levels of speed that you need to have. There's that mile speed, that 354, but then there's also that is going to help, or the 350 speed would be even more helpful. But then there's also the can you close in 55, 54 type speed, which is the next level beyond that. Because being able to run 354 is great, but if people are still all together there with the 400 to go or 600 to go, can you reach that top end? And I really want to see Young now in a 5,000 because this obviously indicates that he's going to run a really fast 5,000 just off of pure strength, and then you add in that technical element, that closing speed, and we'll see. Nagoose countered though with a regular 354, an actual 354, not a converted 354. Uh, how do you see the state of the men's mile right now in the NCAA?
Well, I think the state of the men's mile is, I think, non-existent because I don't believe Nico Young is going to run the mile at NCAA indoors. Kerrion Lum, who ran 3:55, I could see him not running the mile, and I could see Yair Naguse not running the mile.
Mm-hmm.
The mile sometimes doesn't get the best of the best because they have this DMR. And I think Naguse has been notorious for being, I'm doing a DMR 3K, DMR 3K. And I
Yeah.
think Kerrion Lum might think the same thing. Well, UW DMR and 3K. Now, maybe things will change, but that's what's interesting about kind of watching the mile over, a week, over the entire span of the indoor season.
Yeah.
Is like, are we actually going to see all these guys go up against each other in March, or are they all going to go different directions, run an 800, run a DMR, enter the 5K instead, type of stuff? Like
Yeah.
Nico's not doing a mile, right? He's going to do the 5K, 3K. And Naguse, what does he have left to prove in the mile anyway? Right? He's already won the 1500. He's like, why is he even in college? Right? Why is Yair Naguse in college? And I think it's purely out of camaraderie with his teammates. So he's not going to sacrifice his DMR ability for a mile when he's already won enough NCAA titles. So
Yeah.
I can see these great milers just all be like, nope, not this year. And then someone else comes in. So that's my reaction.
Yeah. So he had a lot of fast marks in the 15 last year. He got in a lot of fast races, but also the 1500 just switched off of tactical mode and went to 3 3/4 all out mode in 2021. But indoors, I think this is fastest. This is an indoor PR, obviously, for him, but also just how many opportunities has he had to take a really big swing indoors and to open with a 354. I think that, I mean, again, I don't know if they're going to cut him loose and say, hey, do the mile this year. Forget about the DMR. I don't think that's what Notre Dame believes in. But, I mean, outdoors, I think he wants to get his title back. And I think this positions him, obviously, as the favorite.
Yeah, I believe he's running the Milrose mile, right?
He is. I had just had that start list out. Let's see. Milrose Mile. No, he is not. The only collegian I see on here right now is Mario Garcia Romo. He's the only collegian I see on here.
Yep. So maybe he was going to do it, and then he decided to do this 354 instead. That's interesting.
Let me look at the 3000.
No, he's not in 3000 either.
Man, this 3000 is built for. This is like the Gordon Mack 3000. This is like all the people Gordon is interested in. Drew Hunter, Wesley Kiptoo, Luis Grijalva, Nico Young, your guy James West, Morgan Beadlescomb, Cooper Tier, Jordy Beamish, Sam Parsons, John Gay, Jeremy Hernandez, Charles Hicks from
Great Britain,
Cole Hawker,
newly,
Connor Matthews.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that's
that's been my dream race. And it's not the same though when they're not in college. I'm just gonna say it, right? It's weird. Once it's like, when you're a high school senior to all of a sudden a freshman, it's just like the aura and the newness of it kind of fades away. Same thing here. When you're a 22-year-old senior representing a college, it's very different from being a 23-year-old representing a random shoe deal. So, just saying.
Yeah, but it's your guys. They're your guys.
It is my guys.
You got some guys that you covered at the beginning of your career, the guys that you covered recently, guys you didn't know what country they ran for. It's fun. Guys that had the worst DQ called on them in history, and James West. You got a cool group here. Guys who nobody knew about until you were banging the drum on, like Kip too. It's exciting.
Yeah.
That 3K will be fun. Mile has more like legit star power because you got Josh Kerr in there, but the men's 3 is interesting for followers of collegiate track over the past couple of years. What about Ole Miss? How did Ole Miss counter here? We know that they're stacked this year in the men's mile.
Yeah, so Ole Miss, they had 3 guys run sub 4 in the same race. James Young, who's a D2 transfer, Bracken and Elkins. Elkins was like kind of a guy out of nowhere. But 3 guys run sub 4 in the same race. But here's the thing. They have 9 other guys who probably or on the verge of also breaking 4 in 2022. I mean, led by Garcia Romo, who will do it at the
Yeah.
the Wanamaker Mile. You go on and on down the list. But the fact that I'm able to project out, okay, 3 guys, yeah, well, I can see 9 others also, because of those 9 others, I think 6 have already broken 4 in their career. And the other
Mhm.
3 are like 401 to 404 guys. So I'm just bringing this up. It's going to be insane when it comes to March 15th, the end of the indoor season, and you
Mhm.
see Ole Miss's roster where their 12th man is 359. It's going to
Yeah.
be wild.
Do they have somebody who could win the individual mile, or do you think this is all a play for DMR?
I mean, Mario Garcia Romo could win the individual mile, but will he do that? Will he just focus on, doing what Nyckoles is doing a DMR 3K? James Young, I'd say, is the wild card guy who could win the mile because
Mhm.
he's won a mile before. He won the
Yeah.
mile in Division 2. So he he won outdoor 1500 in D2 in 2021. He won the indoor mile in D2. So he has the championship racing experience. Again, it's against D2 competition,
Yeah.
but he's a 337 1500, 357 miler. Clearly has a talent and he knows race tactics. I could
Yeah.
see James Young, the D2 guy from Academy of Art, now at Ole Miss, being the sleeper mile champion for Ole Miss.
All right. I would avoid Nyckoles in the 3K.
We can't. The 3K's at the end, so everyone does it.
Well, I'm saying
There's no point in avoiding it.
I would go mile before I went 3K if I had a chance for both, or if I had equal shot in both, because of what you said. How on the men's side and the women's side, the mile really opens up throughout the season. And I
Yeah,
know
but
the DMR that takes you out of DMR, but what's the difference if they have this many guys this close together? What would they be giving up? Especially if you know a DMR is going to go tactical. Maybe your best guy, time wise, isn't your best kicker.
well, no, it just comes down to if you're Ole Miss, do you want to you your ceiling is second if Nyckoles is in the race and you don't race Mario Garcia Roma because you know you're not going to beat Nyckoles. But if you put Mario Garcia Romo in the race, your ceiling could be first because you could see. I mean, Garcia Romo is 335 guy. He's at that level. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But then you also could get more points because then you could put Garcia Romo as a fresh miler, get another 10 there, and then get second in the DMR. And that's 18 points. And then find more points here and there, and they could potentially become a sneaky podium contender. But do they care about that, or do they care about we want to win this one race? Everything else don't matter. I don't know. We'll find
Yeah.
out.
Because it's the proxy for cross country, for track. The
Yeah.
DMR is. It takes on much bigger value because it's a team title, even though it's one event at a larger meet, but it's just a way to show strength. I'm looking at your rankings. I want to see your DM. Where are your DMR rankings? Where are these? Where are these rankings? Field, distance, relays. Here we go. So you have Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Texas, Villanova, NAU. Because I'm thinking about Nico Young, and I'm thinking you brought up the comp to Mance, but is the comp Fisher? Is that a better comparison? And if it's Fisher, he ran a lot of miles in 1500s and DMRs.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Where are you going with this? You just like change subjects all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's what I do. Does he run the DMR? Is what I'm
No,
thinking.
Nico won't run the DMR. He'll do 5.3.
Who
But he'll
anchors
run
for
the
them?
DMR to qualify the team, which is what you do.
Who
They'll
anchors for them?
anchor Theo Quacks, Brody Hasty.
The reason I say it is because if you're
They'll
just using
anchor with like a 358 guy, which won't win, but hey, it can get fourth. You know?
I'm just saying if you're using indoors to set up outdoors, which is the vibe I got with Fisher all the time, you're just sharpening indoors. Put them in a mile. Have them run the relay. It's keep things you can develop while still having fun and enjoying and not necessarily having to run a bunch of 5Ks all year. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him DMR 3K is what I'm saying. You know better than I do because you're plugged in, let's say, to the NAU program. But I think it would be a cool change of pace. Throw him in the DMR.
I'll text Mike. Be like, yo, put Nico in the DMR.
Hopefully, it goes better than your text to coaches last week.
Yeah, he'll just send me eyes emojis. Like what?
This week's edition of, but no, if you're thinking long term with this athlete, I guess a national title is a national title, and you're gonna go all in wherever you can to try to get one. But I'm just thinking, hey, it's not the strangest idea if a guy runs 354 to let him anchor. Plus, Nico with a rolling start too. I mean, that was Nico from out the blocks. Guy's gonna get better when he gets the baton moving too. Got
Oh
momentum
yeah,
on his
that's
side.
right here.
I don't know.
Good. That's like 3 seconds right there.
Yeah. Women's side of things in the NCAA. Let's see. Julian Alfred, Abby Steiner, they ran the top 2 times of the year in the women's 60. Gordon. Alfred has been good for a while for Texas. Abby Steiner, we already know how good she's been so far this year, but this was a great race for her dropping down in distance.
Yeah, Steiner. I mean, she's can go all the way up to a good 4x4 split. So for her to be in that mix is pretty good, but she's not going to be able to get up there with the Alfreds and the Kemba Nelsons of this world, who are going to be, when it all comes down to it, running sub 7:10 in an NCAA final. And Alfred, is she American? No.
Let me see. I think it's, let's see, St. Lucia.
Oh, no, St. Lucia. Okay.
20 years old. I remember I lost track of time because of the canceled seasons, but her first year at Texas, I don't remember when that was now, but I remember she ran a really good 60.
Yeah, she
Maybe
ran
it was
7:10 in Albuquerque in January 2020.
Yeah. Yeah. So 7:10
So,
again now. It converts up for qualifying purposes, but whatever. We don't need to worry about that right now. She's going to be in the meet. It's not going to be a big deal, but it goes up to 7:12 and Steiner goes up to 7:19 there. But 7:10, even at altitude, talked about how rare a sub 7 is. So if you're getting in that 7:10 and under range, you're in elite company, and that's fast enough to win the NCAA title this year. So, any other women's results, either distance sprints or otherwise?
um, there was a couple women that ran pretty well, high level wise. I mean, Emily Mackey now has the top time in both the 800. Emily McKay now has a top time in the 800 and the mile. She ran a 2:04 converted time at Lehigh last week, and then this week she ran a 4:32 mile at Penn State. She's kind of like an unknown now. I mean, her PBs are nothing too crazy, right? She ran a 4:17 1500, but 4:32 mile, that's getting near there. I mean, she might be like that random wild card potentially. You would think other women are going to eventually start dropping down into the mile, run some quicker times. But hey, how many times can you say you're the fastest half miler and miler in the nation in January? It's pretty cool. Yeah, she's kind of like and she's been good. Like she was 52nd at cross country. She's run a 15:40 5K, so she's not too out of the blue. And then, I mean, there was nothing else too crazy, to be honest. It's been kind of like it was a little bit down on the women's side. I'm looking at some of the other events. Ooh, no, there was something good. Shay Tao, I don't know how to say his name. Shay Taiwow? Is that how you say it?
How do you spell it,
She
Gordon?
is a weight thrower for Ole Miss, and I think she ran like I think she threw a top mark all time. So I'm going to look it up. So weight throw, she threw 24 meters and 24.11 meters, which is good for 7th all time. So she threw the 7th weight throw all time in collegiate history. So you're for all you weight throw fans out there, which is a very specific community. Congrats to Shea Towell of Ole Miss.
There was a good 4x4 too at Texas Tech with Kentucky and Kennedy Leitner running down Houston and Texas, split 44-6, I believe. Outside of the colleges, Tampa Eagle in the chat mentioned that. He said, "Didn't someone run 7:08?" Yeah, Mary Beth Sant Price, 7:08 in Lubbock. Again, if you want to have an idea of the conversion, you could go to 7:10, but she sits at the top of the yearly list with the 7:08. Might get into my rankings now, Gordon. Might get into my top 10 women's 60 rankings of the year with that performance. Pretty good.
I think the race, though, of the day had to have been the college kid, right? Not the high school kid.
Oh, the race of the weekend. Yeah, I think it. Yeah, let's go to the colleges, and then we'll go back to the pro results here. Yeah, this was one of those races where you're like, am I seeing the beginning of something special here? Because you get, I don't know, and when high schoolers run against other high schoolers, just like when 4x4 legs run against inferior 4x4 legs, sometimes it kind of skews what you're seeing. But this was a special run here. So you have from high school, Nyckoles Harbor. He goes 20.79 at Texas Tech. He's 6'5", 225, football player. And you can see on the clip, if you're watching with us on YouTube, just how fast and effortless he looks for someone that size. It was brought up after. I didn't even notice that in the first clip. Wasn't even using blocks for this 200. That mark puts him way up there on the collegiate all-time list, or sorry, high school all-time list. Number 4 all-time. He plays. I looked him up in terms of football. Plays a bunch of positions. Like defensive end is one of them, but also plays wide receiver. He's listed as an athlete in terms of how he's being recruited out of high school, and obviously with that athleticism and size, you can guess why. But I think you're right. This was the overall performance of the week, and just in terms of wow, what are we watching here?
Yeah, I mean, 6'5", 225. Like, to get that type of body around a track, an indoor track, is very hard. Like, that curve can kill you if you're that big and that tall. And for him to just do it with such ease, it makes you think, what is his potential? And it also makes you think, are we ever really going to see his potential, right? If he's going to be a highly recruit, I'm not sure how good what his rating is in football.
5
There's
stars.
a chance that he's 5. Okay. So there's a chance this might be the only thing we ever get to see of him, right? Like after this year, he's going to be focused on football, and then track is out the window because you got to make sure you get recruited, and then you join the team in the spring and all this stuff, and it's over. And it's kind of like this is going to be a big like what if? Like what if?
He said he wants to do track in college, and I know a lot of people
They all
say
said
that, and it doesn't always happen. Yeah, exactly. And I watched an interview where someone asked, "Well, how important is the track program to you? Like, do you need to go to a top tier track and football program?" And he basically said, "No," because he said, and he's correct. He's like, in track, and if you're really good, one person can make a big difference. And if I go there, maybe other people will follow. So he hasn't completely excluded track the way some top high school football players have. But you're right. We know from history that it's difficult to juggle both.
I just know if you are the 53rd man on a roster, you're making more money than being a top 5 runner in the world.
Yeah, correct.
Let me say that again. If you're the lowest paid player on an NFL team, you're making more money than being a top 5 runner in the world.
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna end up making like a financial decision and be like,
Yeah.
hey, what avenue is best for, my career? And from us, we're gonna be like, hey man, we want to see the young stars become great and see what all this potential can be. Some people, I
Mhm.
mean, you wrote in the rundown, is he the next Bolt? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he could be. He's tall, big, and makes running a 200 on an indoor track look easy, but maybe we'll never know. And it always makes you think about these moments of, because we have such a diverse opportunity of sport among our
Mhm.
youth and our high school kids, are we always seeing the true best of the best in track and field? Because they're getting pulled away to basketball, to football, to
Mhm.
hell, golf. I don't know. Maybe not golf, but soccer, right?
You
So
almost were there.
we never know. You never
Uh,
Tiger Woods, he probably could have ran a good quarter mile. I don't know, right?
I did not write that sentence in the rundown, and I think Travis did it just to trigger you. I did look up because you're always curious and you forget about how good was Bolt, and this is outdoors, but when he was 17, 20.13, and then we obviously know Arian Knighton outdoors last year, 1984. They were using blocks. They were outdoors, not quite exactly the same thing as Harbor, but give you just a point of comparison. I think we'll actually see him run in a couple college meets. Again, it may not be the full-fledged season that we want to see from him, but because they have to be in college for a couple years before they go in the NFL, and I think a lot of these athletes, they're just competitive. They're not necessarily thinking about the long-term future. They're in college, they have friends on the track team. Hey, come on, see if you can run, or someone just you know goads them a little bit to get out there and race, and he's going to want to get in a race. I mean, I just think with I mean, he's a junior too, so we get one more year of him in high school. Now maybe he stops doing it his senior year entirely just to focus on football, but I would bank on us seeing him a couple more. And he's like he's run AAU before. He's not a guy who is football only like his whole life, and then he just gets thrown into a track meet his junior or senior year, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm fast too. Like he's grown up with track; it's part of him. So I think that might lend itself to him running fast. But you just see, and he's not there. I want to, he's not there yet. But like when you're watching the game yesterday and you watch Tyreek Hill, you see what elite track speed looks like on a football field. And if this kid makes it that far in football, I think you'll see that as well too. Like there's a difference between somebody who can run 20.1 and somebody who can run 21.5. You can be really good in high school running 21.5 in a lot of states. And you can get a lot of people talking about you and saying that you have elite speed, or you run 10.5 or 10.6 elite speed. But there's a big difference between that and what the legit track speed guys who play football bring to the table. And you see it with guys like Hill.
Yeah, if this kid was on that Bills defense, potentially Hill doesn't score that touchdown, and we're
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
still can't believe that game.
Singing a
I'm
different
still
tune.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
Still a crazy game.
The
Anyway,
where the comp comes in, I think, is the height. Because you see six
yeah.
five, and then people, any tall sprinter now, people are going to say Bolt, Bolt, doesn't matter, Bolt. Because I mean, Arian Knighton, 1984. I think we forgot about that, Gordon.
That's true.
1984 at 17. That's nuts.
I think it's
He's
just
gonna
cool how he did it. He smoked the field. He was in like heat 40. Like the guy runs 2079 and he's in heat 40. Typically,
yeah,
he should be in heat. He should have been in
yeah.
heat 1. But like, what if you're like
Or other
they
Heat
probably give
40
out like
kids.
do they give like a medal or an award to like the winner of the 200? And they know it's
Mhm.
seeded fast to slow. So when
Yeah,
the people who were like after like the first, if there's 45 heats and you're
Yeah.
leading after what heat do you be like, I don't need to watch? Like, do you like, all right, 5 heats have gone by. No one is going
Yeah.
to beat my time now. Like, heat 6, 7, that just, so then you feel like you just go home that day. You'd be like, I won the 200. The person who thought they won the 200 was probably already home in their hotel or in their living room, just eating Cheetos. And
Yeah.
then they wait a minute. What? Who's this
Yeah.
guy? Heat 40,
Yeah.
2079. Damn, I thought I won. So
Yeah. Best of luck to whatever he decides to do. He's in
Oh, yeah.
high school. Hope he has a lot of fun and has a long and healthy career in whatever sport he pursues. You see that level of talent though. It's fun to watch. In other high school news, Newbury Park's Colin Sahlman ran 4:05 in the mile. That was outdoors. What do you think of his race score?
Well, he did it solo. There was no rabbiting. It was just him. And
Pretty good.
it's pretty good. It's kind of sad that we look at that time like, it was kind of not. You're like, he could have been better. He's turning 4:05 into like a rust buster bad race, which is kind of wild. That was my
Well, with
first reaction
no
when I saw that. I was like, oh, he's run 4:04. He ran 4:05. It wasn't that good. And I'm like, wait, what am I saying? High school kid just ran
January.
4:05 in January. That's good.
Well, and if you're saying,
But we're
if you're
so
saying
used to
no,
seeing like, I'm saying we're so used to seeing people like Hobbs Kessler run 3:57 in February,
yeah.
and we're like, hey, no, you want to impress us now. You got to be an all-time great.
Well, and if you're saying no help on it either, that makes obviously a huge
Yeah.
difference. Not that we haven't seen fast high schoolers run solo times that are really good, but where were the teammates? He definitely has teammates to pace him. Where were they at?
Well, one of them was not in it because
Mhm.
he wasn't at the meet. Another teammate ran the 800. Another teammate ran the
Mhm.
3200, and then the other teammate ran the mile, but finished like 409. Finished like 4 seconds.
Okay. The old 4:05, 4:09 high school combo. Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
I'm sure they ran good. I'm sure the 8 and the 32. I mean, remember too, this is January for high school kids. This is still a long ways to go.
Yeah.
And California, where they're not used to competing really during this time of year. Yeah, you saw Nico Young go to Milrose, and they do some indoor track in some corners of California. But in general, that's not what they're doing in California during January. They're not used to being race sharp. So this is an impressive result. You're correct. The expectations are high because with him, it's not a matter. People are thinking not a matter of if, but when he's going to do it. But still, 4:05 solo is pretty good. And I'm assuming they've been training really hard through this point of the season. Pro news. I guess the biggest pro result. We talked about Mary Beth St. Price in that 60, but outdoors, Christina Boma ran 22.3. We got the video of that. She just blows everybody away, so you don't really have any perspective on the rest of the field here. Also, if you get a chance, watch this clip with the audio on because the commentator is amazing. He yells, "It's Boma." I counted 5 times in a row for almost the entire curve. He just yelled, "It's Boma." But that shot, you don't really see where everybody else is. But obviously, huge victory for her. First of all, what do you think of the performance? And then second of all, running outdoors during indoor season. I get why some parts of the world do that. If the weather's great, hey, why not do it? But do you like it? Do you dislike it? Do you think it's an advantage, disadvantage, or doesn't really matter?
I feel like it doesn't really matter. I think this has been going on since the day of time that athletes run outdoor. I mean, Australia does it right there. They do
Yeah.
like a big old like tour. They do like a big old series and circuit during what we call
Yeah.
indoor season, but outdoor. I think just not everyone treats indoor like it's a real thing, and I think a lot
Yeah.
of people outside of US and outside of Europe are like, nah, sorry, this is just low key season. It's not off
Yeah.
season. It's just low key season where we go to low key meets, run some rust busters, run 22.3 against a bunch of random
Yeah.
women, and call it a day. So I don't think there's any advantage or disadvantage to any of it. I mean, a lot of times these races are just glorified practices in a way because there's no
Yeah.
stakes and people work out on outdoor tracks during indoor season. Like people are doing
Mhm.
a 300 time trial on a 400-meter outdoor track in Florida right now. Like that is happening. People are doing mile
Right
workouts
now.
on outdoor tracks. Like people don't
Mhm.
people work out on outdoor tracks all year long, and
Yeah.
sometimes they run these, low key fake races on outdoor tracks as well. I don't think it's anything to do with like it's indoor. You must stay inside. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. What did you think about Mboma's performance?
um, I don't know what to think of it. Right? It's so weird to have like a fast sprinter running outdoors in January. Right? It's like typically sprinters just kind of keep to themselves up until April when they're or March when they're
Mhm.
ready to show off. So, um, I mean, she's starting off where she left off, right, with a strong
Mhm.
200. Get ready to ratchet it down over time to see if she can compete with Elaine Thompson Hurrah in in the summer. I don't know if she's
Mhm.
going to. We'll see. But when you really think about it, she is the one with the highest ceiling, right? Because she's younger, she's newer to the sport,
Yeah.
so you have to
Yeah.
think like she's not maxed out for sure.
Mhm.
Like there's definitely another level she's going to go to, and it's a matter of will she or how high is that level. So we'll find out.
Yeah.
It's a long-winded
Obviously, I think.
answer saying no comment. I don't know. All right, it's a 22-3 in January. What am I supposed to do with that
Well,
though?
and you're coming off of a silver medal season, but the person who won gold was just incredible. And you're like, well, Elaine Thompson Raw looked almost unbeatable. So is the standard, is the only way she improves if Thompson Harrell falters, or is it possible that Mboma could just make up that gap? Because if you're making up the gap on someone running as quickly as Thompson Harrell, you're basically saying, hey, you need to run the world record to beat her. And then you wonder, hey, can someone from that group that was behind her catch her? Can Gabby Thomas, can Dina Asher Smith, Shawnee Miller Weibo if she runs it, Brad Shelley and Fraser Price, can someone from that group move up? I'm fascinated in the women's too this year. I hope a lot of people run it and a lot of people run it fresh so we get a good gauge on how deep that event actually is. Because yeah, you could see something happening with Thompson Raw where she doesn't even decide to run the two. It's not as if every
Yeah,
sprinter always doubles and then it's just wide open for Mboma. Um, yeah. Okay. Um, Question from Tampa Eagle says there's a full Milrose entry list up. Yes, it's up. Tariq asks, here's a question for you, Gordon. What will the cutoff be for indoor nationals 800? 147.7, 148 flat. Talking about top 16 here. What do you think it will end up being? Set an over under here, Gordon.
I'll tell you. Hold on. Let me open up my trust handy dandy Excel sheet, and I'll tell you what the standard's going to be. It will be. Hold on. Give me. Oh, you caught me off the guard. How am I supposed to have this memorized? Okay. 800, top 16 go, right? One,
Well,
two.
I didn't mean look up on a spreadsheet. I meant just go off the top of your head using your years of expertise and help Tariq out here with a prediction.
I think the cutoff will be 148 flat.
All right.
That's what I think.
And that's
What
a
was it?
guarantee. So make sure you at him next year
What was it
or
last
not
year?
this season. Let me see. Performance
Oh,
list, indoors.
I'll get it. I'll
I don't
get
know.
it.
Where's the
Last
archive
year,
of these
okay.
things?
Last year is 148.59.
All
And
right.
I
So
and
148 flat seems reasonable.
yeah, it'll probably be more like 148.3, but I think it's gonna be 148 flat. Kids are running fast. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. Okay. So not the 147 high that he thinks.
No,
148
no,
will still
no,
get
no.
in.
It's indoor. People kind of 800
It
indoor
is.
is there'll be some people who can figure it out, but then there's a lot of people who are like, I only can run 148. I can run 146 outdoors, but I only can run 148 indoors. I don't know why. So
Mm-hmm. Well, the key is you got to go out fast and then
yeah,
maintain.
and then the fastness, yeah.
That's my favorite race analysis. You got to go out hard here and just maintain and then kick home.
Get out hard.
Yeah. But
Our
then you got to
coaches say,
maintain.
just take it easy. Don't run. Just like get out slow.
Step 2 is maintain. That's the part that's the best part because it's like go out fast and stay fast and then kick hard. And then you win every race you run in. That was probably the advice to Harbor over the weekend. Get out hard in that 200, maintain, and then finish hard. If you got any other questions, throw them in the chat. We had the coldest marathon run, Gordon. Did you see this in Siberia? We got this in the
I
rundown
did
here.
not see this. Tell me about this.
Negative 53 Celsius, which is negative 63 Fahrenheit. The winner for the men ran 3:22. The photos are great. If you click on the link and scroll through some of these pictures, you get cold reading it. And then the fastest women's time was 4:09. I think when I see this, I think, well, I would never want to do this. However, I would never want to be in negative 53 in general. So running a marathon actually doesn't seem that bad because I would need to do it to stay warm. So just in terms of full-on survival, this is like an appealing moment to run a marathon because they have pictures of people spectating. Cole, go back to the article. You can see, and they don't even look like they're wearing that heavy of coats. Like I would be wrapped in everything. You pull up that article, Cole. Oh, there's a video of it too here. I mean, moving pretty good here. That's pretty solid in terms of, but like, look at those people. They got the big hats on that you're used to seeing over there in Russia, but they're just watching. Like this is the only marathon where watching seems harder than running.
Why would they do this? This makes why? Like what do you like? I can see like, all right, I want to exercise, so and it's cold
Oh,
out, and I just gotta get it done. But like, do you need to run a full ass marathon? You're not getting anything from the. You're not getting any extra like aerobic or physical benefit from running a marathon in negative 50 degrees versus
no, you
running
do it
like
for the
10
story.
miles in negative 50 degrees because your pace is slow. That like we're not running 5-minute mile pace here. You're just running.
Look at this guy's face.
It's
Look how much
ridiculous.
snow is on him.
And do you get hot or cold? That's what because you're wearing so many layers and your body is heating up. So you're probably like really hot, but then you can't take it off because then your skin will freeze. It's like,
What's the
it's like those
conversion factor?
the
Like once you
conversion.
get all those clothes off and you run in just shorts and a t-shirt, it's got to be worth several minutes over the course of a marathon. And how thick are your gloves?
I mean, and then they're running in snow boots probably too, right? What's the conversion when they put on those Alpha Flies? Like, I don't know.
That's true. Maybe they have
And what's the
carbon
conversion?
fiber snow boots.
What's the conversion when it's not ice on the ground? Because it looks like there was
Yeah.
ice on the ground. It's snow on the ground. So like where you actually can not have to stutter step with your jog because you're afraid you're going to fall, like that woman in that viral news clip where she was running on snow and then fell. That's what I was thinking.
Do you think the winners are top 10 marathoners? Do you think these are they hiding in plain sight? These could be top 10 marathoners if they ran in.
It could be.
Even if they ran in negative 6. Do you think you could tell the difference between negative 53 and negative 23?
No, I could not. What do you think Eliud Kipchoge would have ran in that race in those conditions?
2:06.
He would not run 2:06 in negative 53-degree weather on snow. He would not. That's not happening.
All you would see, he'd be covered just like all those guys are. You'd just see the smile though the entire time. He would just be bouncing along. What would Kipchoge run in negative 53?
You also think about the footing.
he'd put on different shoes. Maybe he'd put on those yak track things that people put on when they have to go in the snow. Maybe he'd put those over his Alpha Flies. I mean, he'd run sub 3 for sure if this guy ran 320.
That's true. But he won't run 206.
That was
Like
that was a
in order
joke.
to run
Gordon.
206, you need to be like in like a. But like, what's like the time he could run where like he doesn't need to be floating and like, I don't know. Also, like, I
Yeah.
don't know how your body how does your body react to that? Like,
Well, okay, here's the surprising thing because I'm thinking, all right, if it's all run by locals who live there all the time,
do they actually run the
it's not
marathon?
going to feel
I missed that.
warm, but they're used to it. But then I read the article, and there's people who came from the Middle East to run this. There's people who came from the United States to run this, and there's nowhere in the United States as cold as this. This is known as the coldest place on Earth. They call it the Pole of Cold. It's inside. Yeah, you go into Google Maps and you find this place, and then you zoom out, zoom out. There's nothing around it, really. And everybody knows Siberia, frozen tundra. They have to like it's all built on permafrost. Like it's perpetually cold. So I get the people who live there all the time adapting a little bit. But how does somebody come from another part of the world and run it and survive? Like the amount of when you play that video, the amount of their breath you saw. It was like they were a steam engine plowing along. Like they weren't even breathing hard. It was just a constant stream of smoke coming out of their breath. It was incredible.
Yeah, imagine being American. You're like ready to go. You have all your gear, your goo packs, and then like your goo packs become lollipops because you're like shit, they're frozen. And then you're like,
Frozen,
all
yeah.
right, you thought you were gonna shred clothes, and you're like, nope. All right, I need like
No, putting on clothes. You're adding clothes at
yeah,
the start.
yeah, adding
Would
clothes
you rather
over time.
negative 53 or 125? What would you rather run a marathon in if you had to do it?
Uh, probably -53 because I'll just be
Same.
like, I'm cold, and I'm just gonna jog, and I'm just gonna walk,
Yeah.
and I'm just gonna get through it. Whereas like 125, I'm like, I'm gonna die if I move. Like I can't move my body.
Yeah.
I'll die if I move my body.
Yeah, and you can always add clothes. I would be looking like the
Yeah.
Michelin Man by the time the starting gun went off. Whereas
Like,
if it's really, really hot, there's a limit to how many clothes you can only take off all of your clothes, and then
yeah.
um, at that point, it's over.
It's over.
Yeah, I have respect for this group. Again, the spectators though. That's a hardy group out there as well. Anthony brings up this is a fun story. We should dig more into this for some. There's a track tennis crossover. Did you see this, Gordon? Bridget Foster Hilton, Jamaican elite track and field athlete, is now a pretty good tennis player.
Really?
Have you seen that? Yeah, we'll dig into it more when we have some time. But I thought that was pretty exciting because all the
The
crossover is such and such goes into track, and how would they do in the 100? Or this soccer
yeah.
player ran this many kilometers per hour for 4 meters. Could they beat Usain Bolt? Who's to say? I don't know. Probably they could probably beat Usain Bolt. That makes sense. And now we have someone coming from track into another sport. That's fun.
Well, there's a local runner from Austin, Sarah Lancaster. She made the semis in the 1500, and she's run like 15:20 in the 5K. She was a D1 tennis player, so she went from tennis to track. Picked up track late.
Yeah,
So,
going
but to
in the
go
other
from track to
direction. Okay.
tennis, that's it's a whole nother it's a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Is this guy good? Is he at the Australian Open right now?
No, Bridget Foster Hilton.
Oh,
Bridget
okay.
Foster
Is
Hilton.
she
Yeah.
good? Is she at the Australian
That's
Open?
what I'm saying. I need to dig in more here. I mean, she was a high hurdler for Jamaica. I don't know if here's the Jamaican Gleaner article. Let me see. It's loading. I just bring this up because Anthony brought it up in the chat. I didn't have it. Let's see. Yeah. Someone will have to tell us in the chat. Tennis is pretty, it's straightforward, right? You play the qualifier tournaments. If you do well enough in those, you move up to the big show. It's not like I guess some people get wild cards sometimes into events, but you got to really prove yourself. It's not like, say, the Mount Sac 100 where they're like, hey, DK Metcalf, you get a lane. Go ahead. Run the 100. See what happens.
What do you think it would be like if we conducted a U.S. championships the way a tennis major is conducted? And what I'm saying is we have a descending order list of 128 100-meter runners.
Yeah.
The top runner races the guy ranked 128th. And we just do a bracket. There's no 8-lane final. Everything is just head-to-head races. And it's just elimination. So you end up having to run, I don't know how many times over the period, but basically a track meet where it's bracket style 1v1.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So everyone just races one person at a time and winner moves on, regardless of how fast or how slow it is. Just winner moves on.
Let's do that. Let's do that as a hypothetical on the pod sometimes. We'll do it for the 100 and we'll do it for the 800. How about that?
Would part of you think it would be more exciting? I feel like it might be more exciting.
Well, it'd be more tiring for the athletes. That's for sure. It's like, hey, 64 people. You need to run 6 100-meter races. I mean, it would be kind of cool. Like the guy going against Bolt in the first round, the 64th seed.
But like it's 6 races, but the first run for the top people is not going to be that hard, I don't think. I mean, unless number 64 is like, I'm going to run. That's fat. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be cool because then you get upsets and you're like, oh, well, like.
Yeah. I mean, it would take forever. You could only do it if the sport was literally 3 events.
Just that.
Or something.
Yeah.
And for the 1500, it would get boring. Anything above, heck, even anything above the 400 would be, the 1 versus 64 would be not very exciting in the 5K. I'll tell you that much. I would not be tuning into that.
That's a lot of fun. Hey, that's what it's like when you go to some of these track meets, though. Like Mount Sac, where there's like 12 10Ks. It feels like a dual meet bracket style elimination.
You need to figure out how to have multiple like sections going on at the same time. That's what you need to do. Like these 2 people are racing the 5,000 and they get like they start and then it's like a wave start. But then that would be really confusing. Which brings me to my
You run like the 4. You know how like people are at March Madness, you're watching like 4 basketball games at once. There's 8 lanes, right? So just have 2 then a space 2 space 2, right? So you have 3 races going down at the same time, and then just like, all right, the winner of the 2 head-to-head person.
Okay. Tariq says Bridget Foss Hilton's going to play in her first international tournament in a week or so. So we'll update on that show. He says too early to evaluate her again. Anthony says here goes Gordon with his what ifs. Bill says Gordon's drunk. But see here. Okay, I'll outdo Gordon with an idea I have, and this is about NFL overtime. So it's not track specific, but people are talking about overtime because the Chiefs and the Bills coin toss has too much weight on the outcome. So people are like, who should get the ball first? How do you weight it? Solution: both teams get the ball. You wheel out a second field. Win-win. You in?
First team to score wins. So it's like you're racing against each other.
Whoever scores the most in 10 minutes.
No. I like where Gordon's going. Both offenses and both defenses are playing at the same time. That's what's happening.
And they're on the same field, but they're each going a different direction.
Exactly.
Right? So they all start like the 50-yard line, back to back, and then whoever gets to the end zone first wins, or turnover.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking you literally have it's like the metaverse. You have a second field or something somehow. I don't know if it's floating at some point or it's next door, and you get the cameras over there too, and then whoever scores the most in 10 minutes wins.
But you
want 44 guys on one field.
I want them playing, but I also want this. I thought of it. I want there to be unlimited downs, right? So you get as many downs as you want. So there's no turnover on downs. And it's just first one to score. So there's a speed element to it. So you're not going to like take your time in a huddle. All right, second down, what are we going to do? You want to get to the end zone before the other team gets to their end zone. So it's not about, and you don't need to worry about, not getting your 4th down conversion because you have limited attempts to get into the end zone.
So basically you're saying each team starts at the 40 back to back? or the 50 back to back, and they go the opposite direction.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're
Like a little bit
going,
of, all right.
they're
Cole,
going
you
away
like
from
this?
each other, and the first one score wins. Or each team selects 10 athletes, and they all do one of the events in a decathlon.
Okay.
And then whoever scores the most points wins. So, your O lineman like throws the shot. Your cornerback is like doing the hurdles. Your quarterback is throwing the javelin, and you do a decathlon, and you select your all-star decathlon team, and then they compete on the track meet, and then that's how we decide who won the NFL game. Imagine
I'm never
like
going to be
final
able
event,
to.
like 1,500. The two kickers are just like showing their endurance.
I'm never going to be able to come up with an idea dumber than you, because just when I think I do, you're able to just come over the top. You're like the Mahomes of ridiculous ideas. It's just one-upping constantly. I should stop trying. I'm going against the GOAT here. Whoops, mic's falling.
We should juxtapose. Is that the word?
Juxtapose.
Grant Holloway running a 110-meter hurdle race, and then Patrick Mahomes driving 13 seconds to score a field goal, like right next to each other. I'm going to do that. I'm going to find the clips.
Except he stopped though, didn't he?
You're saying they had 13 seconds.
The word is superimpose.
I'm just going to put together. Oh, that's going to be a really fun thing. I'm going to put together. Watch Grant Holloway run 110 hurdles in the time that they kicked the field goal to win. I'm going to do that right now. That's going to be my project. Put it on Twitter.
We got other stuff. We got other stuff to do, Gordon. You can't be doing that. What's the word? Cole, you should be in charge of corrections with Gordon's.
That's the word is superimpose that we were looking for there, not juxtaposes.
Juxtapose.
Whatever.
Colt's gonna be stat boy by the end. We're just gonna send him corrections. He's juxtapose. All right, Gordon's already working. We're done. People still think you're drunk. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com. We'll talk Wednesday. More Milrose, more news. Thanks to Colt for producing. Subscribe if you haven't yet to the FloTrack Podcast. Become a member. Join. Get exclusive content. We'll talk to you guys later.